Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Table brought to you by the Blue Stable. I am once again your host, Luke Verkamp, and back again with me tonight is Austin. So, how's it going, Austin?
Pretty good, man. It's been quite some time since we've done one of these together.
It has been quite a while, and it's actually been quite a while since we even posted an episode, period. Season ended. There really wasn't a whole lot to talk about, so we both kind of took a little bit of a break. And plus, life was pretty busy for both of us. Schedules didn't exactly line up for either one of us. So, with all the breaking news that's been going on in the NFL lately, we decided to try to get on and do a quick episode for you guys. So the main things that we're going to talk about today is going to be the Calvin Ridley news, the quarterback news with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, franchise tags, and a couple other minor details that have been going on.
It's been
Uh,
a very busy day in sports.
it's been a very busy day. Like, to be quite honest, today's been so busy that I forgot that Calvin Ridley got suspended until I started working on the notes for this. So speaking of Calvin Ridley, let's just go ahead and start with him. So Calvin Ridley is suspended for at least the 2022 season for gambling. He did like 3 parlay bets. They all had the Falcons to win. I know there's a lot of debating on whether he should have been suspended or not. I'm not really wanting to get into that because that's not fantasy relevant. But yeah, the thing is that um, they said indefinitely, but it's going to be for at least the 2022 season. I can't really see them going beyond that, going into the 2023 season. But this is a pretty steep suspension. His stock in Dynasty has got to be going down like way low. Like, Austin, I don't know if there's like what you think of him in Dynasty right now, but what would you trade for him at this point?
Honestly, first things first is that the suspension that he was given really feels like overkill. Like
Yeah.
I get that it's against the rules, but at the same time, he bet for the Falcons to win. So really, was there really much betting happening there if the Falcons were supposed to win the game? That's
Right. I gotta say, it's like you're betting for your team to win. It's not like you're betting for your team to lose. And plus, he wasn't even on the team anymore. But also, like, yeah, it's just a big mess, especially with the NFL that's pushing sports betting like crazy right now. I thought it was a bit steep, but yeah,
guys have got suspended for much worse for significantly less time, which is
right, right.
gambling. I understand is against the rules, but crimes are also against the rules too. And you never see a full suspension for half of the things that the crimes are going to be committed.
Right. So one thing that I'm going to try to feel out where you think that his dynasty stock is. I know you don't really play dynasty,
No, not too much.
but do you know understand the concept at least?
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah, for
keep the
sure.
same team,
They carry it.
draft rookies, yeah, stuff like that. So let's just take, for example, first one. He's on my team, so that's why I'm thinking of him. Elijah Moore, rookie wide receiver on the Jets, played pretty well for the middle of the season this past year before he got hurt and had COVID. Would you rather have him right now in Dynasty, or would you rather have Calvin Ridley?
Honestly, for the 2022 season, I feel like it's pretty obvious that Elijah Moore is going to be the obvious option here because he's actually going to be playing, and 99% sure Calvin Ridley's not going to play a single snap this season unless his appeal actually works, which I highly doubt it will because they wouldn't have given him a full season if they weren't planning on actually giving him a full season.
Right, right.
Um, so I mean, it's probably almost guaranteed to be Elijah Moore. I would take him 10 times out of 10 in this situation. Calvin Ridley, down the line, we still don't know what's going to happen this season. Uh, Kyle Pitts could end up going off. I know they don't have any other receivers, so if Kyle Pitts goes off, it may just make Calvin Ridley just an afterthought. And he already still wants out of Atlanta, so I mean, who knows where he's going to end up, regardless.
I gotta say, he wants out of Atlanta, and he also left the team for mental health reasons, and we never heard if he's coming back or not. I know he's put out some tweets saying like, "Oh, I'll be back healthier" and stuff like that. So it's making you assume that he's going to be back for the 2023 season, but we really have no clue what's going to happen. Um, but yeah, I think his stock is just plummeted. I don't know really what you can trade for him at this point because he's not going to play at least this whole year. and maybe more into next year. So not really much you can do. I know you mentioned it as well, but Kyle Pitts' stock has got to be going through the roof for Dynasty. I don't know where you would draft him as a tight end for this next year, but he's got to be up there in like the top 3 for me. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and probably Pitts.
I mean, he had a good season last year. The only reason he wasn't getting those fantasy points because he wasn't getting touchdowns. But I mean, with nobody else, in Atlanta, no Cordero Patterson, Calvin Ridley's been gone all this time anyway. I think Russell Gage is a free agent too. So
He is a free agent. Yeah.
Who's getting the touchdowns anymore? So it's literally just Kyle Pitts in that receiving core, assuming they don't go all in, in free agency and in the draft on other weapons, which I would have to imagine they would at least draft a weapon or two. But I mean, nothing's going to compare to what Kyle Pitts can do for you on that offense.
Yeah, I gotta say, Kyle Pitts, he's going to take a big step forward. I feel like he's going to develop more, and plus, touchdown regression has got to happen. He's got to be able to get some touchdowns. I should say positive touchdown regression, because like you said, Russell Gage, he's a free agent. I expect he'll probably be back. That's what the Atlanta beat writers are saying. They said they're trying to work on a deal, so I'm going to guess that he's going to be back. But yeah, there's really no like set wide receiver one for me. I think they're going to go in the draft, try to get one, because this is a wide receiver draft. But also there's some big name free agents out there, and Amari Cooper, he's like one that might get cut. So there's a lot going on in the wide receiver market right now.
Yeah, the free agency wide receiver market's going to be crazy. The draft, we already know, is going to be insane. I mean, the combine just pretty much sealed that deal. Like, if you need a wide receiver, this is the year to do so.
Thank goodness for the Colts, who need a wide receiver 2 or either a wide receiver 1, and Michael Pittman would be a very good wide receiver 2 for you.
I think the Colts could use a wide receiver 2, 3, 4, and 5. So.
That is true too. That is very true. Anyway, we're going to be moving on here to the franchise tags. So for franchise tags, I know there was a couple defensive players and Cam Robinson, who Austin loves that he got the franchise tag.
Yeah, it made complete sense to me. Cam Robinson, a below average tackle who got franchise tagged for the second straight year. Great. Perfect sense. In a tackle heavy class too. Perfect.
Yeah, true. But yeah, we're not going to be talking too much about them, even though we did talk a little bit about Cam Robinson right there. We're going to be talking about the we're going to be talking about the wide receivers and tight ends that got tagged. So I'm just going to run through the list real quick, Austin, and then we'll talk about it here. But the guys who got the tag was David Njoku, Chris Godwin, Devonte Adams, Dalton Schultz, and Mike Gesicki. And the one big name that was not tagged, who was finally free from the franchise tag, is Allen Robinson. So, Austin, what are your thoughts on the list? I know you were a big Njoku guy coming to Indy, but he's staying in Cleveland.
Heavily campaigning for David Njoku to come to Indy. Obviously, it's not going to happen anymore, so he's going to continue to be wasted in Cleveland. They don't use him as it is. He wasn't even the tight end one last year or the year before, so I don't know why they tagged him. There is no need to keep him in Cleveland. It's basically like keeping him in prison, which the franchise tag already is. The other two tight ends, Schultz and Gesicki, they're in solid offenses. I think Gesicki's going to take another step up, which he's already taken a pretty big step up last year, but I think he's going to take another step up this year in that the new offense with
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
I gotta say, he was on the 49ers and they had Kittle. So if they use him like Kittle, that'd be dangerous.
He knows how to use his players. Jalen Waddle as well. Jalen Waddle probably use like Debo. I think he said he wanted to do that. So I feel like that's pretty good news for both of them fantasy wise. Dalton Schultz, pretty much a breakout year last year. Don't really see that going away, especially if they're going to lose another weapon with Amari Cooper hitting free agency. Chris Godwin doesn't really have a quarterback anymore, so I'm not quite sure what to do with that information. Still in that loaded wide receiver core with Evans and obviously Godwin. Who knows if OJ Howard is going to resign? I hope not, because if I lose Njoku and I don't get OJ Howard, I'm going to throw a fit. So I mean, I don't know who's throwing them the ball, but it depends on that's pretty much the big thing that it depends on, is whoever's throwing Chris Godwin the ball. Devonte Adams, Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay. Rodgers and Adams go together like the things they go together.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. But yeah, no, I feel the same way. Njoku, like, he was behind Austin Hooper already. I don't know why they even got Hooper in the first place. I know they're talking, I guess they're debating on what they're going to do with Hooper right now. But yeah, they need to do something with that tight end room. And Baker doesn't really even use it to begin with. So it's just kind of, they're just sitting there.
To be fair, Baker doesn't use anything. So, I mean,
Yeah, that is true. We saw how Odell did.
Tight end too.
Yeah, we did see how Odell did on his way out. But yeah, Mike Gesicki, like we said, I think he might be a top 5 tight end this year just because of how Mike McDaniel could use him in that offense. Dalton Schultz, Austin, you brought up a great point with Amari Cooper leaving, but also Michael Gallup, he tore his ACL late into the season. So he probably is going to miss the first part of the season. So Schultz, I expect to just keep on going from where he left off last year. Devonte Adams, yep, he's still going to be good because Devonte Adams is really good. And Chris Godwin, yeah, I really don't know who's going to be their quarterback. Maybe we can ship him once and he'll do average, but you never know. We'll just have to see where he ends up going. But the big thing for me is, like, a lot of these guys, I don't like the tag to begin with, but a lot of these guys getting tagged nowadays are the wide receivers and tight ends, these skill positions, so the teams can hold on to them a little bit more. I think teams around the league are starting to understand that it's a more of an offense-driven league, so try to keep those players for longer without getting that long-term deal that you're stuck in with.
Yeah, I feel like even if teams don't intend to sign a long-term deal with this player, that player doesn't intend to want to sign that long-term deal with the team, they're probably still going to use that franchise tag anyway and pretty much back them into a corner.
Yeah,
to tell them, like, hey, you have to play now. If you want, you have to play.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the harsh reality of the NFL at the current moment. Moving on, unless you have any other comments, Austin, I'm going to move on.
Outside of Allen Robinson, who I want to say is pretty unsurprisingly didn't get tagged.
Yeah.
I think he would have been one of those guys who would say, keep the contract. I'll sit this season if he got tagged again.
And plus, to be quite honest, I don't think he's worth that money anymore,
right?
Especially after this past season.
Yeah.
It's the Bears have shown that they're trusting Darnell Mooney as their wide receiver 1, so there's no reason to bring him back.
It's not to say Allen Robinson can't be good still. I think he needs to be put into an offense that he wants to be in.
Yep, I agree. If he can be to be quite honest, I feel like the Patriots would be a solid fit for him.
Yeah, I can see that.
To where, like, he doesn't have to be great like he used to be. He just needs to be, like, he needs to get himself open. He'll be average. Like, he's not going to be a top 10 receiver like he used to be. He'll be like mid-range, like 15 or so, 15 and 20-ish.
I could see that. I could even see closer to that top 10.
Yeah.
In the right system with the right quarterback.
Right.
I originally wanted him to come to Indy, but with Michael Pittman basically playing the same type of game that Allen Robinson plays, there's not really a point in having him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Either way, we're going to move on to the other news that's going on in the NFL. Today was a busy day with the franchise tag due, so people are trying to get contracts done, and Aaron Rodgers finally decided to break his news that he is going to be staying with Green Bay. There was a report of the 4-year, $200 million contract, but Pat McAfee said it was false, and his source is Aaron Rodgers, so I think I'll believe that. So Aaron Rodgers is back, and that's why Green Bay also tagged Devonte Adams to keep the pair together. Also, Mike Williams, who was originally thought to get the tag, has agreed to a 3-year deal to stay with the Chargers. So that's pretty big for them to have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there for a bit longer with Justin Herbert. Great idea for them because having 2 good receivers with that quarterback just amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of huge for Mike Williams. 3
Mhm.
more years with him and Herbert. I think Keenan Allen's contract actually comes to an end next year or the year after too. So Mike Williams will be there. He'll outlast Keenan Allen probably.
I gotta say, I know Allen's will be up before Mike Williams is, but if they trust Mike Williams to be the number one by that point, I don't know if they're going to do that or not.
Right.
But
And it seemed like, at least in the first half of the year, that he could be that number one.
he could. Yeah, he's shown the potential that he could be that guy. But whether he ends up being that guy, because as we saw last year, we also saw the lows.
Yeah.
So if he can show some consistency, like, to be quite honest, Mike Williams and Calvin Ridley are actually pretty similar, because like Calvin Ridley was like the number 5 wide receiver like 2 years ago. And then he played like 5 games last year, and now he's like not playing next year. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things, they can be the best or they can be the worst. And then some other minor news: Josh Reynolds has signed a 2-year deal to stay with the Lions. He played pretty good for them towards the end of the season whenever he got traded there. I actually like the fit that he had with the Lions, but they still got quarterback questions if they're going to keep Jared Goff or not. And who knows what they're going to do in the draft, because they have a lot of holes everywhere. They might go wide receiver in this class, and Josh Reynolds will just be back to being a wide receiver 3. Who knows? But
yeah, I mean, Josh Reynolds isn't the biggest of names by any means at all. But for like a late round guy that you can grab, I still think Amon-Ra St. Brown's the guy in that offense. Jared Goff seemed to click with both of them still, though, which is weird because it's Jared Goff. I mean, depending on who they have at quarterback, even if it is Jared Goff, I can still see Josh Reynolds being good, like a good flex or a bench. One of those guys that will just come in and play well if you need him to play well.
yeah, he's one of those guys that will give you the average output. Like, I had him in that 32 team league that we were in last year, and he was like, he hit like some weeks for like 20, and then some weeks it was just like 5. So it's just like, he's not going to kill you, but he's not going to be like, oh, the best player in the week type guy.
Yeah.
And then late breaking news, right before we started recording, Josh Gordon re-signed with the Chiefs. I don't really think this does anything for Josh Gordon or Patrick Mahomes or the Kansas City offense, really, but it's something to take note of, because
he
maybe
sure did re-sign.
Do what?
I said he sure did re-sign.
Yeah, he re-signed.
That's about the end of that news.
But that's about all that needs to be said about it, because he didn't do anything really last year.
I don't think
except for hype up the Kansas City fans.
I think he had 1 touchdown, and that was it.
I don't even remember that, to be quite honest.
I think
he might have easily, but I don't remember it. Oh, man. But anyways, to the big topic of the night is going to be Russell Wilson to the Broncos. To be quite honest, I could not believe my eyes whenever I got that notification that Wilson got traded. I wish it was to the Colts, but after looking at what Denver gave up, there was no way the Colts were going to get him. So all you Colts fans out there that are watching this, we didn't have a chance. Like, you can say all chips in quotation marks, like, we didn't have a chance.
Please show me the chips that we could have been in for this one.
Right. We did not have the number 9 overall pick. Even if we didn't trade for Carson Wentz, we didn't have the number 9 overall pick.
We weren't matching that offer, let alone besting. There wasn't a chance.
Yeah. We didn't have the depth to be sending guys like we would have had to send Michael Pittman instead of like Noah Fant. And then like maybe Grover Stewart. I don't know, but it's like we didn't have the depth to be sending guys like the Broncos do. But anyway, so yeah, details of the trade. It was 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, I believe it's Shelby, and Noah Fant for Russell Wilson in a 4th. So massive haul for the Seahawks, who really kind of needed to rebuild after they traded for Jamal Adams for some reason. But either way, Broncos have Russell Wilson. They have a good quarterback, and it's time to discuss the fantasy impact of their players. So I'm going to start with you, Austin. What do you think the impact is for the Broncos players like Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Javonte Williams, and I know you talked about him earlier in our group chat, but Albert O.
Yeah, that offense is about to skyrocket in value. They played well, at least the receivers did last year. Javonte Williams probably won't have Melvin Gordon back.
Crossing my fingers on that one.
God, I hope so. If Javonte doesn't have Melvin Gordon back, his fantasy value and just triple it. I mean, Russell Wilson and no running back that he has to share carries with is going to be insane for him. Jerry Judy, I was kind of expecting him or Sutton to be involved in that trade, and I'm surprised they weren't. But them and Tim Patrick, who just re-signed last year with Russell Wilson, are going to make for just an insane offense that I don't think, even with Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and
Tyler Lockett,
whose name I couldn't remember for some reason.
Rashad Penny, even.
Yeah, Rashad Penny, the first round pick. I don't think Russell Wilson has had an offense like this in a long time, if ever. Albert O, Big O. I mean, he's been my guy since I think 2 years before he got drafted. I loved his game. When he went to Denver, the first thing that I thought in my head was they just got Noah Fant. Why would they take him? Now he can't shine, Noah Fant surprisingly went to Seattle. He not rarely, but he didn't get used the way I thought he should have been used in Denver. For him to truly shine, I really think he could have been a much better tight end than he ended up being. And now that he's in Seattle, he's not going to be any sort of tight end because he doesn't have a quarterback anymore, unless Jacob Eason's throwing him missiles on the sideline. But Albert O, that fantasy value is going to skyrocket. He played well in the games that Noah Fant didn't play in. He played well in the games that Noah Fant would, come out of the game for, a few snaps. Albert O, he's going to be a top 10 tight end next year. You heard it here first.
I got to say, to be quite honest, I see Albert O and Noah Fant as very similar in fantasy right now. And I'd almost want to take Albert O over Noah Fant at this point. I was a big believer in Noah Fant. He's got the talent to be a very good tight end, but he could never put it together. And part of it is to blame because he had Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater as his quarterbacks. You can't really do much whenever those guys are your quarterbacks.
And Joe Flacco and Case Keenum.
Joe Flacco. Keep forgetting he was there. But, yeah, all around this Broncos offense is just going to be great. I really hope Melvin Gordon doesn't come back because I love Javonte. I have him on my main dynasty league, and I want to see him succeed. I know Javonte, he was second by 2 missed tackles total and to Jonathan Taylor, and he had half the rushes is what Jonathan Taylor did.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jerry Judy, this raises his dynasty stock up a lot. I really was torn with Jerry Judy because I was oh man, he could be a buy low, but at the same time, I don't really know if I want to buy him because he hasn't shown anything yet. But now that Russell Wilson's there, I feel like that's a very good pairing. I like that pairing a lot more than Cortland Sutton and Russell Wilson, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And whenever people ask me what I would do with Cortland Sutton, I would not buy him right now. I think the hype's going to be too high, and it's going to exceed where his production is going to actually be.
That's fair, yeah. But I mean, as for Jerry Judy, I feel like if there's anybody that can unlock the potential that he has, it's going to be Russell Wilson.
It would be Russell Wilson. Yep, I agree with that.
He's way too good to be, not having, 1,200-yard seasons.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm probably going to try to get Jerry Judy somehow this offseason just to take the shot on him.
Right.
But anyway, moving on. The impact for the Seahawks players, we got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Noah Fant. To be quite honest, I'll go ahead and start. I don't like the situation for any of them. I think this drops them all significantly because they're basically going to be in a mini rebuild. I know they said Tyler Lockett is also potentially available for trade. So we'll have to see if he ends up getting traded somewhere. It wouldn't be a bad idea for Seahawks to do that because I know he's still pretty young, but he's not like as young as DK. And they got a lot of picks coming up now because of this Denver trade. So they could replace him very easily if they wanted to. But DK Metcalf, he was already going down in dynasty value the way it was. And this has plummeted him like last year in dynasty startup drafts. I know he was going as a second round pick, kind of around the same-ish area as like a DJ Moore and stuff like that. And now like this year, I'm going to say that I'd almost probably take Michael Pittman over DK Metcalf.
Depending on who
it depends who the quarterback is for the Colts, yes. But like, okay, let's say this: Hunter Renfrow or DK Metcalf.
It's gonna probably depend on who the Seahawks quarterback is, but as it stands right now, probably Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to see who the Seahawks quarterback is, but yeah, he's going to pretty well drop to around like wide receiver 20-ish, I would say for me. But yeah, what are you thought? Or I guess I haven't said anything on Fant, but Fant, like I said earlier, I think to be quite honest, I don't know if I would even take a shot on him in fantasy this year. Dynasty, I don't know if I would want him in Dynasty either, really, at this point. If you can trade something for him, third-round pick to get him, just to hope that they get a decent quarterback next year, maybe. But yeah, Fant's just kind of dead for this coming season unless they get a quarterback in the draft.
I feel like even if they do get a quarterback, the Seahawks are a team that don't really use their tight ends as they are. Like Will Dissly is a very, very talented tight end, and it's going to be hitting free agency with probably less than 1,000 career receiving yards.
Well, it's like Gerald Everett was there this past year too, and it's like he was good for a couple of games, but then like he was
good in LA the year before, and they they get these big name tight ends and then they just don't use them, or these talented tight ends at the very least, whether they're not big names, but they just don't use them, which is just, it sucks for Fant because he's not going to get the chance to develop into what he absolutely could be.
Right. But yeah. Anyways, what's your thoughts on the whole Lockett and Metcalf situation there?
Lockett and Metcalf, I mean, I sound like a broken record at this point, but it's all going to depend on who's under center. If it's Drew Lock or Jacob Eason, who is the backup over there right now, or Geno Smith, you're not getting much from them, if anything. Tyler Lockett, I hope for his sake he gets traded. I hope the Seahawks are going full rebuild mode, which you would think if they're trading away their star quarterback who's been with them for over a decade now, or not over a decade, but just about a decade. It went in 2012, right?
2012, yeah. So, would this be year 10 then?
I think so. I think he would have been going into year 10. I mean, he's still going into year 10, just not with Seattle. But yeah, so I mean, Lockett's sake, I hope he goes somewhere else. Metcalf's pretty much stuck there. And he isn't really the most well-rounded player as it is. He's just tall and fast. Mm-hmm. He really developed his route running last year, but he still doesn't get the separation you'd like to see, on his cuts and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's not really anything that's going to be crazy. It's kind of like all three of those guys, Lockett, Metcalf, and Fant, are kind of guys that you can really just wait on, and I wouldn't be too disappointed if you miss out on them.
Yeah, I feel like they went from being guys that were going in like the around 4th, 5th, 6th roundish area in drafts like last year, and probably going to be to this year as well if Russell Wilson was still there, to now being like 10th round picks. Like I feel like they're going to drop rounds down the board just because unless they draft a quarterback, which, speaking of, I want to hear your thoughts. What is your kind of prediction on what you think the Seahawks are going to do for quarterback? If they're going to draft this year, if they're going to wait till next year, free agent, like, what do you think?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Geno Smith and Drew Lock are both signed for this entire year. So I think they kind of have to roll with them unless they cut one of them, which I guess they could. It's not, it's not out of the question, but I really feel like this quarterback class isn't necessarily deep, but it's about the deepest class you're going to get. So, I mean, if they're going to get a quarterback, maybe they take a shot on one at 9, in which case they could kind of save their rebuild if they can get like a Matt Corral or like a Malik Willis or something like that. Maybe save their rebuild. But I really don't. I feel like this may be a just sell all and kind of play for like 2024 kind of thing.
Yeah, I gotta say, to me, I don't know if I would take a quarterback this year at 9. With all the draft capital that they have right now, I would almost prefer, if I was them, I would prefer to wait till next year, where it's probably a better quarterback class than this year, because anything is going to be better than what this class is.
I would say next year's isn't as deep, but it's definitely more talented.
Yeah, it's more top heavy for sure. So I'd be more, if I was them, trying to make a push next year for that draft class. Whether they do that or not, who knows? They could just end up signing Mitch Trubisky and they get like 9-7 or something like that. Who knows? But there's a lot of routes that they could take. A lot of question marks that have to be answered yet this offseason. So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And I mean, for at least Lockett and Metcalf, with how deep this wide receiver class is while we're on rookies, there's really no reason to take them. If in your fantasy drafts, if you've got just a class full of rookies, as long as these rookies end up in the right spot, there's really no need to take Lockett or Metcalf and basically take them off of hope and potential.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's a good point to bring up, because, you could go with a Drake London, Chris Olave, like guys like that, if they go to a good team that needs a wide receiver. So, yeah, great point to bring up there. Well, Austin, I believe that is all that we had on the agenda today. Is there anything else that you thought of while we were talking to bring up?
Not particularly. I think we kind of hit the nail on the head for everything. Not a ton of sports news going on, but with the League New Year coming around next year, all those free agents should be starting to sign by this time next week. I said League New Year coming around next week is what I meant. The free agents should be, I guess, agreeing to terms to deals, I think this time next week as we record this on Tuesday. So, we should have some more to talk about by then. Yeah,
originally we were, since we haven't mentioned it yet, we were originally planning on doing a rookie mock draft tonight, but with everything that went on, there was no way we were going to do a rookie mock draft tonight. Those are going to have to wait till either next week after, whenever there's not a bunch of breaking news going on. We will get to one eventually, but that day is not today.
So it's no rush for sure.
Yeah, we got a lot of time before the draft. So, and there's a lot more that can be going on to figure out rookies towards the end. So, yeah, we're going to make videos with all the breaking news that's going on. As off season goes along now, there's going to be more news coming out. Going to be trying to make more videos for you guys. Try to talk about all these different things going on in the NFL world, because there's going to be a lot going on coming up soon with the new league year. So yeah, stay tuned. I think that's all we got, unless you have one final comment.
I think that's pretty much it for now. With free agency next week, like I said, we'll have a lot more to talk about.
There's going to be a lot going on.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton going on. It seems like it's going to be a pretty loaded free agent class, which I kind of assumed would happen with a lot of guys signing 1-year deals last year.
Yep.
So offense is going to be pretty fun this year.
Yep. But yeah, before we are done, I would just want to shout out our socials. I don't know if you changed your Twitter handle as well, I see.
Did I?
Oh, wait, no. Has it always been the?
Yeah,
it has been. But there's been so many D's going on today that
everybody's taking my drip.
So make sure to go follow us. I believe it's going to be on this side of the page at the Austin Isaac. I changed my ad, so it's not at Big Verkamp anymore. It's at Luke Verkamp. Changed it to my name. finally. I had my
Luke Verkamp.
do what?
Could have changed it to at the Luke Verkamp.
I'm not going to. Nice try, but not going to. So yeah, I'm at Luke Verkamp now. I had that at for a long time on an old account, and now I'm finally changing it. So yeah, at the fantasy table as well. I know at the fantasy table, but I have not posted on there in a long time. But hopefully now with all the news coming out, I'm going to try to be posting a little bit more on there. Austin, I don't know if he has the time for it either, but if he has time, he'll post on there as well. So if you have any questions, message us, tweet at us. We'll get to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I hope you guys had a good day, good morning, good night, whatever time it is that you are listening or watching to this. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.